Vanguard Live. I am Precious Chukudi. All right, we begin with the front pages of the papers, but before we start, yesterday was the president was conferring about 447 individuals with national honor. I mean, it was such a thing of pride to just see Nigerians being given meritorious awards and all of that. And there were some highlights of of the event, especially the one where the president was giving Paystack boss Israel Luby, and he had this lycra outfit that he was wearing, and the president was looking like, is this a man or a woman? Very funny. But then I'm sure most of you must have seen that video, trend online. Let's start off with the front pages, starting off with Vanguard. Vanguard is leading with businesses crash as diesel price shoots skyward. The writer says, we are being choked to death. Business owners, others cry out. How we are managing is to remain in operation. Vandalism, oil theft, sabotage, hurting power supply. Federal government assures power will improve very soon. On page 19, federal government records a 2.6 trillion naira revenue shortfall in first quarter 2022. On page 10, Sanwo-Olu receives approval for Lekki Airport. On page 9, national honors, Buhari vows to hand over peaceful, secure Nigeria. Bank chiefs Ovia, Elumelu, Wigwe gets national honor. Acquisition of Obajana's cement plant followed due process. That's coming from Dangote. Stories above, we have a terrorist leader proposed marriage but declined, and that's coming from freed train victim Azufa. A kidnapping in Oyo, Osun, others. It's time to arm state security outfits. That's coming from AFENIFERE. Oil theft. Clark asked Buhari to set up judiciary inquiry. On page 8, we have Nigeria's economic growth will slow to 3% in 2023. That's an IMF report. We can also see a photo story showing the Corner Awards for Governor Okonwa. Also, Love Worry gets CFR awards. All right, moving on to Guardian newspaper. Guardian is leading with honors. Buhari decorates Lawan, Okojo, Iweala, UN scribe, others. The writer says citizens who contribute to the nation deserve appreciation. Akume says 5,000 nominees were pruned to 447 awardees. Honors award is called to more responsibility, says Lawan. Lawyer describes inclusion of education minister in honors list as scandalous. PDP hails Okowa, other party leaders. Stories below, we have stop blame games, campaign with Buhari records. PDP tells ruling party. Stories above, how military corrupt NNPC officials others steal Nigeria's oil wealth by Clark. On page 4, Buhari confers national honors on Flutterwave CEO, others. Obi, a national movement that's coming from Ohaneze. IMF downgrades Nigeria's growth prospects amidst pessimism, tension. You can also see a photo story showing some people who were conferred yesterday. Lagos receives approval for Lekki Airport, commit to capacity building. All right, that's all we can take on The Guardian. Let's move over to The Nation newspaper. The Nation is leading with, I will leave a secured country. Buhari assures Nigerians. President confers national awards to 443 Nigerians, 7 foreigners. IMF cuts Nigeria's economic growth to 3.2%. Strike, how House of Reps broker truce between federal government ASO. Stories above, why I am yet to release manifesto by Obi. Dangote, Obajana cement properly acquired. On page 4, we have Oyo Assembly kicks over EFCC's invitation to members. Lastly, on the front page of The Nation, Lagos gets approval for Lekki Airport. Sanwo-Olu Lord's federal government. All right, let's take a look at the Punch newspaper. The Punch is leading with presidential fleet funding rises to 81 billion naira under Buhari. The writer says president fails to uphold pledge to reduce aircraft. Budgets for Asu Villa refreshment jumps to 2 billion naira. Nigeria over borrowing to fund non-essential items. That's coming from the Dawn. Still, we have photo stories showing some honorees. Nation building requires a sacrifice. Buhari tells 450 honorees. Osinachi's husband abused her. Singer's ex-employee tells court. Flood killed 500, injured 1,546, says federal government. Lagos developer defrauds 200 house seekers. Victims blame police. You can see that on pages 4 and 5. Stories above. ASU awaits Buhari on no work, no pay. Holds NEC meeting. Federal government approves Lekki Ekpe Airport. Projects 5 million passengers. Obi unveils a campaign team today. Ohaneze Lords AFENIFERE. Stories above. Federal government eyes $100 billion for SDGs. Pledges business reforms. INEC deletes 2.7 million for double registration. Obajana acquisition followed due process, and that's coming from Dangote. And that's all we can take on the front pages of the papers this morning. Join us after the break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back. If you just joined us today in the news of Vanguard Life, I am Precious Chukudi, and unfortunately, I guess we'll be unable to join us today as a result of network glitches. All right, we'll be starting off for the newspaper analysis. Let's talk about businesses crash as diesel prices shoot skywards, and of course, it's no longer news that the price of diesel has forced the hands of business owners, to streamline, downsize, and even shut down operations in the country. Even Vanguard, has gone to do some checks, and with the high cost of diesel, fuel, and epileptic electricity supply, it has become extremely difficult to run a business profitably in Nigeria. Now, according to Vanguard's report, we're seeing that financial institutions, small-scale business operators, including transporters, hoteliers, and mechanics in the 6 states of the South-South zone, have complained about the high price of automotive gas oil, known as diesel, which has also forced a lot of people to, shut down their business operation and also downsize. Now, amid the whole complaint, the federal government has assured that power supply will get better in a short while because it is taking measures to stabilize the sector. Now, this report coming from the Minister of Information and Culture, Alhaji Lai Mohammed, he noted that pipeline vandalism and oil theft over the years have harmed stable electricity supply, adding that the crime is now being tackled. On the high cost of diesel, the minister had said that diesel had been deregulated before President Muhammadu Buhari's administration came on board. Now, according to him, he said that the diesel crisis is a reflection of what is happening all over the world on account of Russia-Ukraine war. And we went across to check different locations of how diesel has literally affected Nigerians, and in Cross River State, we got information that banks in the state, they've actually reduced the level of how many hours they spend in a day. Also in Edo State too, and in Bayelsa, we even got to that some people were already buying some debunked, like all this bunkery diesel, and they would merge them with what they would get from petrol stations to just ensure that they are trying to cut costs basically. But one of the things that we are talking about is how will the government basically handle issues bordering on oil theft, because it's really is really very huge on us. Is crazy, and it's the fact that these activities have been ongoing for years, using under the watchful eyes of even security personnel and all of that. But we're hoping that the government will find ways to lessen the level of hardship on business owners, because it's not easy. How people are buying diesel here and there. I feel for Nigerians. All right, let's move ahead and talk about this one. And of course, it's the national honor. President Buhari vows to hand over peaceful, secure Nigeria. And of course, it's no longer news that a lot of people were given national honor yesterday. I mean, there were too many situations, people were just collecting national honors up and down. It feels like everybody in Nigeria literally has national honors. But there were some reports that over like 5,000 people, were streamlined to 443 persons. Now, let's look at that report. Now, President Muhammadu Buhari, he actually promised to bequeath a peaceful and secure Nigeria to his successor as he leaves office next year. And he said this during the investiture of Nigerians and friends of Nigerians who distinguished themselves in various fields of human endeavor, and in doing so brought pride and glory to the nation. Now, he noted that that's when he was conferring the award to about 447 individuals, that they're not merely decorative but designed to remind citizens of their responsibility in the nation in whichever field they found themselves. According to him, he said he said, we will continue to root out all form of banditry, criminality, terrorism, and insurgency in the land. And he says that the national honors are not merely decorative, they are reminders of an important part of our responsibility as citizens. We must always endeavor to do our best for our country. And he goes on to say that this year's event was special in the sense that it was the first time since he took office roughly 7 years ago that an event of this magnitude was being held. And yes, it's actually good to notice that too. He also recalled that a similar special award ceremony was recently held in honor of the country's athletes for their spectacular performances in several competitions. Now, according to the president, he said it is worthy of note that nation building involves a lot of sacrifice by the citizenry. As citizens who contribute to national development deserve to be encouraged and appreciated. And I said, while commending members of the body for a job well done, Buhari said that the committee has done a patriotic duty by diligently going through over 5,000 submissions and coming up with these recommendations. It's good to see that, the president is, recognizing Nigerians who have done and also who have made the nation very proud in different sectors, cut across different sectors, music, tech bros, name them. A lot of Nigerians were really celebrated, and we can even see, some of our traditional rulers too. So it cuts across different vocation, different parastatals and all of that. All right, let's move ahead and then talk about our next story. And our next story obviously is from kidnappings in Oyo, Osun, others. It's time to arm state security outfits, and that's coming from AFENIFERE. Now, AFENIFERE has condemned the attack on farmlands and the rising spate of kidnappings, and they have asked that it's time to arm security outfits in the state. But I want to pose this question to you guys. Do you think that security outfits like Amotekun should be allowed to carry weapons? This is my question to you, because now the Pan-African social political organization AFENIFERE, they have said it, they've condemned it in strong terms that they do not agree with the attacks that has been happening since in Ogun or your state, as well as kidnappings in Osun, Kwara, Enugu, and Kaduna states. And they have said that it is time for security outfits in the state to be armed. But do you think it's going to be safe if security outfits in the state are armed, like security outfits like Amotekun, Biagu, just to mention a few? If these guys are given the needed weapons, do you think that it's going to be safe? Is there going to be a form of where would have these security outfit guys start to breach the line and start to do something else, and it becomes worse? Or do you think we're going to get the needed sort of security provisions that we're asking for? Because now the thought for AFENIFERE basically is that if these guys were armed when maybe someone who is kidnapped just has to yell. You know, people like maybe an Amoteco and they're armed to be able to rescue the victims even before like the police get to the scene and all of that. But let's just see how it goes if, you know, what their cries are would be heard. Let's take Mr. and Mrs. today, and Mrs. is saying, he's a man like you. What has he got that you haven't? Is it because he is bigger and muscular? He was rude to me, and all you could say is let sleeping dogs lie. Why? And Mr. says, dear, not all dogs are pets. Some are monsters. I agree with Mr. because it's not all the time that people attack you that you want to fight and you want to let them know, do you know who I am? Do you know what I'm capable of doing? You know, so sometimes not all dogs are, you know, pets. Some of them are really monsters. You really need to lay low. And that's all I can take today. And remember that you can equally like, share, and subscribe on all our social media platforms showing on your screen on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Our WhatsApp number is also displayed on your screen. Find out up-to-date stories. You can go to our website. Obviously, we're trying to wait to hear the outcome from ASU and federal government if we're going to be resuming soon, the students are going to be resuming soon or whatever, but it's looking like obviously there is indeed a light at the end of the tunnel. We'll wait and see how far. I am Precious Chukudi, and thank